Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, well, I bring you news of the ban list update. Every time a new set comes out in the Pokémon TCG, we have a ban list update. With Shining Fates a mere couple of weeks away, we now have the ban list update to coincide with Shining Fates. And what's weird is we're all sitting around going, oh, are there going to be any new bans? Is ADP going to be banned? No, obviously not. Also, seriously, banning a card in the standard format in the middle of the Players' Cup qualification, that would be awkward. No, ladies and gentlemen, what has actually happened is that Pokemon has come out and unbanned Lusamine and Wally. These cards were banned in the expanded format. These cards are no longer banned in the expanded format. So the question then, of course, becomes why? Why would they unban these two cards? And the answer to this question is extremely interesting. Essentially, what Pokemon have said is this. In an effort to maintain a more global expanded format experience, two cards were unbanned. Lusamine and Wally are not banned in Japan, so TPCI, the Pokémon Company International, decided to unban these cards to have a unified banned card list. Now, there are other reasons why these cards really aren't such a big deal as they used to be. We'll get to that in a moment. But the really important cool thing here is the unity. You see, the Pokémon Company, they deal with Pokémon in Japan, and the Pokémon Company, and actually, to be fair, other Asian countries as well, and the Pokémon Company International deal with the rest, North America, Latin America, Oceania, Europe, almost like we've got those international championships. And essentially, what is happening here is Pokemon is telling us clearly we want things to be uniform. We want the Japanese format and the English format, or the English-speaking format, which isn't strictly true because you've got all the European languages. But you know what I mean when I say that. We want them to be in lockstep. And to be fair, I have correctly predicted bans in the future, not through any clairvoyance, because things that are banned in Japan get banned over here. This is Pokemon basically telling us we are going to, moving forward, and I refuse to believe this is a one-off thing, we are going to try and make sure that the competitive format in terms of Japan and outside of Japan are the same. Hey, Wossy, does this mean we are going to get simultaneous worldwide releases of TCG expansions? No, because there are so many production and logistics issues which make that an absolute nightmare. I don't have any inside information, but put it this way. By the time we see cards in Japan, you can bet that the English versions of those cards have been designed and they're probably heading into production. I don't know this, but that would be the way I would expect it to work, given my knowledge of other businesses and their production. I do teach business, I should point that out sometimes. So my point is, no, we're not getting worldwide releases. I'm sure a bunch of people are going to misread that and say this, but it does mean that in terms of competition, we are going to see uniformity. Now, what's weird, of course, is that our rotation is actually ever so slightly different to Japan's as it stands at the moment. We are going team up on, Japan is going tag bolt on, and what that means is that we do have the mini set Dark Order, which has been rotated in Japan, which has essentially not been rotated over here because those cards were in team up. And there are some relevant cards like Jirachi, the one with a really good ability, like Tapu Koko Prison Star, like Metal Goggles, which are actually legal over here but aren't legal in Japan. But we pretty much know for a fact that our next rotation in August, September time is going to be Sword and Shield on. I always do that video in March, so we can wait till next month for that. But we know that's basically going to happen, which means that it is going to be all the cards with Regulation Mark D and above, which means, and we are keeping the exact same regulation marks as Japan, but we only started with D. So we don't have any cards that are Regulation Mark A, B, and C. We started with D. So what it means is, although we don't have the same rotation as them right now, we will have the same rotation that they do when we hit August, September time. So we are heading towards a proper unified list of rules and bans and sets and all of that for competitive play. This is a very, very good thing. So make no mistake, the fact that they're unbanned is cool, but the reason that we want to uniform with Japan, that is a really genuinely big deal. But going to the individual cards then, why were they unbanned? Now, for me, of the two bans, the one that was the more really out and out, over the top, obvious, had to go was Wally. Wally was an absolutely over the top, ridiculous card. Wally is a supporter card that when you play allows you to search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon, even if it's your first turn of the game or you played a Pokemon this turn. And the reason why Wally absolutely positively had to go was because of Trevenant. Trevenant's got the ability whereby, if it's active, your opponent isn't allowed to play any item cards. But we've also got Phantump. And Phantump has got the attack Ascension for a single colourless energy that lets you search your deck for a card that evolves from it and put it onto it. So essentially, if you went second, you would use Ascension, and then there would be a Trevenant in the active for the start of your opponent's second turn. But if you went first, you could Wally, and you could literally leave your opponent without item cards for the entirety of the game. You could item lock them before they'd even had a turn. And that's not a good thing. So what we went and did was unbanned it. Is that not going to be an issue? No. Because we've changed the supporter rules since we banned Wally. When we banned Wally, the person going first was allowed to play supporter cards. That is now no longer true. So sure, you can go second, and when you go second, you can play a Phantump and Wally straight into a Trevenant. That is an absolutely legal play, and to be fair, you can then Ascension with a second Phantump and actually get double Trevenant essentially turn one, which is awesome. But your opponent has had a turn, and the fact of the matter is, if you're playing Trevenant and you don't, on turn one going second, use the attack Ascension, something has gone wrong. Yes, there is an issue whereby, say, Fiona is a good counter to Trevenant, because it makes your opponent switch their active, and if they don't have a second Trevenant on the bench, this will essentially break the lock. And Wally now allows you to get 2 Trevenant out turn 1, which makes the lock a little bit stronger. Don't get me wrong, this makes Trevenant a lot better as a deck, but the problem is solved. I see this like when we unbanned Archeops, when we banned Maxis. Archeops has an ability which says your opponent can't play evolution Pokemon, which is a really harsh ability. It's actually you and your opponent, but you wouldn't care because you wouldn't want to play evolution Pokemon because you'd be playing Archeops, and you would play Maxis to get that into play, so you wouldn't have to go through the evolution route. And initially, we banned Archeops so that you couldn't Maxis it into play, but then Maxis got banned, so we brought back Archeops. Archeops is still there, it's still a thing, you can still play it, but it's not as good as it was. The combo has gone to your fine. We can no longer now get a turn 1 Trevenant going first, and that was really the big problem with Wally. And Wally works with all kinds of other Pokemon, but it really was the Wally-Trevenant combo, which was such a big thing. Now, having said that, I still think we could have some problems with Wally. I still think having these stage 1s coming into play turn 2 could be a bit of an issue, so this is something I have definitely got my eye on. And it does open up weird kind of combos. So we don't have a particularly good Chandelure at the moment. It doesn't exist. There is no Chandelure in the format at the moment that makes me go, man, I want to play that Chandelure. But we do still have Duskstone. And Duskstone lets you evolve a Lampent straight into a Chandelure. So here what you can essentially do is go Litwick, Wally, Duskstone, and both Wally and Duskstone will search for the evolution, so you just need the 2 trainer cards, and actually get a legitimate turn 1 Chandelure. Now, of course, some of you will remember that we've actually got a Lampent at the moment, the one that came out in Rebel Clash, that does have that ability that if you draw it as your card for the turn, it's called top entry, you get to just put it straight onto the bench. But of course, it's really difficult to actually draw that Lampent as your card for the turn on your first turn. So I don't know, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like at some point somebody's going to come along with a really broken combo with Wally, but the big thing was Trevenant, and as I've explained, Trevenant's not the issue it was. Now, what Pokemon have basically said is this. After the first turn supporter rule changing at the beginning of the Sword and Shield series, the potential problems with Wally were reduced significantly. However, evolving on the first turn can lead to dangerous combos, so the usage of Wally will be monitored closely. If we didn't have the first turn supporter rule, there would be other things like Galarian Weezing, which is a stage 1 Pokemon with ability lock, so you would be able to go first and play Wally, and then you would ability lock, so your opponent trying to use cards like Dedenne and Crobat wouldn't work. And if Wally were still in the format, in a situation where we could use it going first on turn 1, yes, there would be cards like Trevenant and Galarian Weezing that would break the game, but that's not where we are. Now, the other one here is Lusamine, and when this was banned, I kind of referred to it as Lusamine, because what Lusamine allows you to do is grab 2 stadiums and or supporter cards from your discard pile and put them into your hand. So what Lusamine essentially allows you to do is search your discard pile for, say, a Team Flare Grunt and a Lusamine, so you can essentially play Team Flare Grunt and then play Team Flare Grunt, get them back with Lusamine, and round we go. It's not a huge thing, really, because what made Lusamine amazing was Lieutenant Surge's strategy. Because Lieutenant Surge's strategy lets you play 2 supporters in addition to itself. So you would essentially play the supporter you wanted, and then use Lusamine to get back that supporter and Lusamine, or, and it worked into a whole big combo. But Lieutenant Surge's strategy has been banned and expanded. And to be fair, we've got Versus Seeker to reuse supporters, and we've got Cynthia and Caitlyn to reuse supporters, and neither of those are as egregious as Lusamine when we're looking at recovering these supporters, because Lusamine gets 2 back. But the fact of the matter is, you've still essentially, if you want to cycle Team Flare Grunt, you go 2 Flare Grunt and a Lusamine. But after a while, you're just going to go Flare Grunt, Lusamine, Flare Grunt, Lusamine. You're going to need to keep recovering it, so it doesn't end up being quite as good without being able to play Lieutenant Surge's strategy. Hey-ho, I don't see Lusamine being an issue at the moment moving forward, but the fact of the matter is, players of this game have a remarkable ability to find something that can potentially be broken and then just attack. So if there's a broken combo to be made here, somebody is going to find it. I think Wally being unbanned is the bigger news, but I do think it is extremely fair to say for both of these cards, they're not the issue they used to be. The turn 1 supporter rule changing really has stopped Wally from being over the top. And the fact that we don't have Lieutenant Surge's strategy really has stopped Lusamine from being over the top. I love that Pokemon have gone and basically said, hey, look, we're catching up with Japan. We're going to try and have the same format as them. And I know, like I said, the rotation we've got at the moment is ever so slightly different, but it won't be time we get 6.5, 7 months down the road. So I'm sure we'll find. I'm sure we can cope until then. And I do think unbanning both of these cards is absolutely fair. I don't think either of these is going to pose a particularly big problem moving forward. I think we're going to be okay. But this is still kind of big news, especially when we're looking at Pokemon's intentions. So I kind of had to rush to make this as fast as humanly possible. But now I want to hear from you guys. Do you like that these cards are unbanned? Do you wish they'd stayed banned? Do you look at them and go, yeah, I'm not playing them anyway, so I don't particularly care? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.